Yeah. So that was my hard line. That
Okay.
was, if it gets physical, I'm leaving. And so it was physical, more of like shoving, pushing, not necessarily slapping or hitting in any way. And that was, it wasn't a physical thing that hurt. It didn't leave marks in that. And he was still in a pattern of, trying to get help, which of course he obviously wasn't. He was self-sabotaging, but that time I didn't know. But so I had already decided I was going to leave because of the drinking and the mixing of the drugs, and realizing afterwards that he was drinking along on these drugs, and he was trying to get therapy and just going against everything. So I was again, and one of the biggest mistakes is I had said, I can't do this anymore. I know I'm working harder for your wellness than you are. I'm going to divorce, but I will wait until you're on your feet. I didn't want to leave him homeless. I didn't want to leave him with nothing. So I was going to wait till he was on his feet and then leave and start the divorce. And that's when he really beat me up to the point of I was unconscious on the floor in my closet because I was hiding from him because he was throwing furniture around and just really going off. And that's when I called the police so that I could leave, because he wouldn't let me leave when he was throwing furniture around and being violent. And I was trying to leave. He wouldn't let me leave. He took the keys and everything else. So that's when I called the police. And I hadn't seen him again since then.
Were your children in the house at the time when this is happening?
No, the kids were already grown.
Okay.
The kids were already grown, out on their own at that point already.
So you were able to get away from him. You called the police on him. They get rid of him.
No, they let me leave. I said, No, I want to leave.
Okay.
I don't know what they did after I left. They tried to get me to go to get an ambulance. I said, no, I'm fine. I just wanted out of there so bad. And I had already called a friend. I was going to go to a friend's house where he didn't know where she lived. So it was like important to go somewhere that he would not be able to find me. I don't even know at that point if they took him. I still don't know if they took him anywhere or if I don't know what they did after I left. But they allowed me to leave.
So walk me through like the next steps. So like you're staying with a friend and you're kind of trying to piece together like, okay, this has gone crazy. Like I know I should have left years ago, but this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind in this point? Because obviously it takes a while to kind of decompress from something like that.
Yeah.
And, you're at least safe. You're with a friend. He doesn't know where you are. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your head at and how do you kind of rebuild from that?
So my head is at just kind of finding a place to live. I'm still working full time at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just going through the motions. Okay, what do I need to do now? What do I need to do now? What do I need to do now? Just going through the motions of what's the next step. And when I first told him I was divorcing, but I was going to give him a chance to get on his feet, I started looking at places to live. So I already had a few places kind of lined up. And one place was a little house that was just owned by a couple. It wasn't like a management property or anything. So the process was going to be a lot easier. And they had told me when I looked at that little house that if I needed to get in sooner, that would be great. Obviously, they wanted to get it filled. And I was like, oh, that won't happen. But then I called them and said, hey, it just so happens I could use that ASAP. And so it was just 2 nights on my friend's couch before I was able to get in that house. So that was nice. But I also, so before that, even like the next day after that, I went to the management property that owned the house that we were renting. I get my name off the lease. I gave them the situation. I said, I don't think they needed it, but I was like, there's, the police came, so there's probably a police report if you want to see, and I was like, at that point, I didn't care what happened to him. I was like, well, I'm gone, I'm safe, and I'm done worrying about what happens to him. So if he didn't make enough money and they were going to kick him out, that's up to them, but I wanted my name off the lease so I wouldn't be held accountable for paying rent after when I was not living there anymore. So that was my first step. Then to get the place to live and go through the process of divorcing, making it all legal.